Okay, so I hope you went through there. I've got a spreadsheet here. I've put out how, let's see if I can get, there we go. So how we solve these. So the first movie had a budget of 100 million. So cash flow 0 would be minus 100 million. And then your next cash flows will go in there. Cash flow 1's 85 and 2's 25 and so on and so forth. Obviously the FO1 and the FO2 and all of those are 1 because we only have one of each of these cash flows. And if you put those in the cash flow button, again, remember, you can go ahead and put in the cost. Cash flow 0 is negative here, and it'll calculate that net present value for you. And so the answer to the first one is 6.81. These are all in millions of dollars, so $6.81 million. If we do the same thing with movie number 2, so in this case, cash flow 0 is minus 60. We're spending 60 million up front, and then we're receiving these cash flows in the future. So cash flow 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the rate of return in both of these cases is 10%, and that gives us a net present value of 10.97. Right, so I hope you would work that out on your own. There's both of those. I've got them worked out here using the present value formula. But again, you can see how the cash flows go in there. So we get a net present value of 6.81 for movie 1 and 10.97 for movie 2. And the question is which would you choose? And that's sort of a trick question because the answer is you take them both. Since they both have positive net present value, they are both worth doing. They both generate, in each case, more than that 10% rate of return because they have positive net present value. So you would do them both. Now, it may be that you're constrained by your budget, that you don't have it. To do them both, it costs $160 million. You may not have $160 million. So if you had to pick between the two, you would probably pick 10.97. And I say probably, based on what you know so far, it's obvious you'd pick 10.97. Sometimes we might not do that because if you pick this one, you'll have $40 million left over. And the question is, what can you do with that $40 million? And so we have other techniques we use to actually make this decision. But in general here, you would say, well, I'd rather do the one that gives me the highest net present value, the 10.97. So it's hard to see a case where if you had to pick between these two that you wouldn't pick this one, 10.97, right? But the main point here is that you would want to do them both if you could because they have positive net present value, all right? Okay, if you're constrained by budgets, then movie 2 is a better deal because it has a higher net present value. Okay, so here's another one to practice. I encourage you to practice it. I've kind of shown you what we're doing here. You're spending $475,000 today. You're going to generate these cash flows. That's what goes in the cash flow button. The discount rate's 14%, all right? In this case, cash flow 0 would be minus $475,000. So all of you should be able to figure out that net present value here. So give this a moment and figure it out, and then I'll show you the answer here in just a second.